Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Be the Wolf. I am excited today because I got an email a couple weeks ago, and there was something about it that just made me want to dig deeper. There was something about the energy of it, if you will. And that email was from Peter Kennedy, and he was telling me about his new book. And so I am here today with Peter Kennedy. He is a father of 5. He's an entrepreneur. He built and led Tiger Media to a $140 million acquisition. And he lived that life that so many entrepreneurs are trying to get to, that life that looks perfect on paper. But after that, it just wasn't enough, if you will. He was left with this empty feeling inside. Where he is today is a totally different place. So we're going to talk about that journey. We're going to talk about the book and all of the things that success brings, takes away, and everything in between. Peter, I'm so excited that you're here. Can you tell us, before we dive into your story, what your company does now?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. So we are an AI platform for coaches and therapists. So I love coaching. I love therapy. I just have worked with so many just amazing people who have brought me to places that I didn't know I could go to, right? And so I rely on these people so much. They're so amazing. And I realized I need a platform to support me between sessions, right? Because I have this amazing transformative coaching session or therapy session, and then I go into my life, and it's I have to go integrate all this stuff. And I needed a platform to help me through that transition. And I thought coaches needed a platform to help guide them, because I would spend the first 5 minutes of every session just being okay, this is what happened. Well, I don't need to do that, because a platform could actually do that for me and give insights back to the coaches. And so, it's an AI platform for coaches. So every time I communicate, interact, journal, do a reflection, whatever it is in the platform, that feeds back information back to the coach, insights, recommendations, assignments automatically. But what I find so interesting is that I talk to coaches and they're like, listen, I can't get my clients to do things. Well, it's what are you getting them to do or trying to get them to do? Journaling, stuff like that. Well, I hate journaling. Well, what if you could create content or assignments perfectly designed for the individual person? Not only is it perfectly matched based off of their knowledge graph, what's happening in the world, but also based off the type of content they like to consume. So I love podcasts. Well, create a podcast about the person on how they can integrate what they learn in the session into their daily life, right? And so that's a big piece of it. AI is all about customization and personalization.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. Yeah, it's cool.
Cool. So my big question, though, you told me a little bit about why, which was you needed something to help you sort of in between the sessions. But is there a bigger why that you're moving with this company? I mean, I think I might know what it is, but if it's what I'm thinking of, it's really huge and it's really beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately what we want to do is we want to raise the consciousness of society, right? I mean, and it starts with me, then it starts with our employees, then it starts with our customers, coaches and therapists, and it ends with their clients and everyone else out there. And so how do we do that? Well, if you look back at my last company, dude, it was just if you were in my way, I was going to run you over. I had to make this thing be successful, and it was the identity I had created. That's gone now. And so now it's well, what does that mean? We put personal growth of our employees above profits. Literally, we send our employees on week-long Joe Dispenza retreats or whatever retreat they want to do so that they can grow as individuals. We do breath work as a company 3 days a week. We do check-ins that are deep and reflective. We invite our customers, friends, families to do breath work with us twice a week. I mean, it is all about personal growth and really just showing how the world is a mirror to your inner state. And so if you have this amazing inner state, then the world is going to be abundant, and shifting this mindset of everyone, especially our employees, from fear to love, right? I mean, you make decisions based out of love or fear. That's just all of them, right? And so, how do you, one, become aware of your decisions? Are you making those out of fear or love? Like constantly analyzing. And then like migrating. If I'm making them out of fear, dude, shift that to love and just see what happens. And it's remarkable. So ultimately, we're trying to help all of our employees find their ikigai, right? Find where their passion, what they're good at, how they can make money, how they can change the world, all comes together within our company.
What I love the most about that is it is about I, meaning you, and it's about the we. And I think a lot of people are really hung up in that it has to be me or we, that it can't be both me and we, that when we are coming together or when we are operating from the best of who we are and moving from that spirit of love, that act of giving actually serves us as well. And it creates this, it's almost like a love generator, and everything
Yes.
just kind of expands and builds off of that place where I don't have to give to get. I just give. And by the nature of me doing that, it just comes back to me in so many different ways without me having to try to get. Does that make sense to you?
100%. Yeah. I mean, there's this separation that we've created within our society, within the human experience. I am I, you are you. We are separate. I am separate from everything. As you zoom out, we're all one species. We're all one thing. The Earth, when you look out really far, there's this cool thing about astronauts. When they go out into the space, they look back at Earth and they get really angry at society because all they see is one thing. They just see an Earth, and I think that we're all one. We all came from the same place. You are me, and I am you. And so I just want you to succeed because your success helps all of us. And this might sound woo-woo to people, and they're like, "Well, I still need to crush it," blah blah. You should crush it. Like work hard. Like do what's passionate for you, but do it for the right reasons. I just feel like, listen, we're here to grow our souls. That's it.
Yeah.
Period. That's a human experience. That's why you're here. So experience the love and the hate and the joy. And that's why you're here. Experience it all. But no matter what happens, look for the life lesson in that thing. I mean, will my new company evolve well, be successful? I have no idea. It's out of my control. I'm going to do all the right things, but it really, if it fails, there's a lesson there. That's why it's failing. It has to fail, right? Tagger succeeded because it had to succeed for me to learn something. What I learned, I didn't get what I wanted. Like I thought there was going to be the love and joy and like validation. It didn't. And I was luckily aware enough to realize that, and be like, oh my God, that's my life lesson. That's why this whole thing happened. We put so much emphasis on like the end result, winning. Well,
Right.
maybe that's not the purpose.
Let's dig into Tagger Media because you did everything to make that business successful. And you said, I would run right over you to actually make it work. And then when you got to that place, you sold it. So everything you had been working for came true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Will Smith has been talking about this concept of cliff top, where there's like rock bottom, which we all know about rock bottom, but there's this point of cliff top where you reach all the success, all the things you ever dreamed about, and you get there, but you feel the same as if you do when you're at rock bottom. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to me about what it was like for you when you hit that cliff top, if you will?
Yeah. I mean, ever since I was a kid, like I grew up in Indianapolis, all of my friends were like, I want to be a celebrity, all these things. Dude, I wanted to like run a global organization. I mean, it's like since I was a kid. And I had this thing, I think a lot of people have this, that success equals love, success equals validation, success equals like I'm a meaningful person, right? And everything was tied to that for me. I mean, I had done a bunch of different startups and none of them really that successful. And so when Tagger started to get successful, dude, it was just like, this thing cannot fail. Like it was my entire life. And I thought that when we sold the company, everyone would just stop and be like, oh my God, we love you so much now. You are so amazing. No one cared. Like no one gave two shits when I sold the company, right? Like my family was proud, but life just keeps going on because everyone is just in their own bubble. Everyone's just doing their life. They really aren't thinking about you that much. Not in a negative way. They just aren't.
Right.
And yeah, the minute I sold the company, I was like, everything I thought I would get, none of it came true. Like the validation, the love, internal, everything. And I woke up the next day and I was deeply, deeply depressed. And that was something hard for me to actually experience because I never allowed myself to cry. I never allowed myself to get vulnerable. I could feel anger and rage and like drive, but I couldn't feel sadness, hopelessness. I just never allowed myself to. So I was embarrassed that I even felt that way, you know? And then luckily my wife's uncle, who's a coach, been a coach for 35 years, just a spiritual gangster, showed up on my door the very next day. Hadn't seen the guy in years. Like, what is that? Like that is there is a greater force pushing and pulling you into these different places, whether you believe it or not, it just happens. And I just surrendered into that, and I did this 5-week program, and life just exploded. I had been doing a lot of work before that, but then this just blew me out of the water. And listen, it's hard for someone who's still in the grind to hear that and be like, well, yeah, dude, you just sold your company. Of course you feel that way. Totally. Like you're right. Like wherever you are in your process is perfect. It's exactly where I'm not trying to convince you because I can't teach someone their life lessons. It's up to you to learn it, you know? And so.
Yeah. And I know some of my clients, they hit really big numbers. They got the girlfriend or the girl, and they had all the things that they thought they were supposed to get. And then they just realized they were miserable. And then they let it all fall away. And then they couldn't make anything work at all afterwards because they didn't have that grasp of who they really were, what they were really trying to get. They didn't even have this connection to what love feels like. And I think when you talk about that idea that you thought like everybody was going to love you, what can you tell me about that kind of love that you expected versus as you developed self-love? Like, what's the difference in that feeling?
That is it. I mean, listen, my journey, your journey, everyone's journey is a journey towards self-love, you know, towards oneness, towards wholeness. And that was my journey. I mean, like, listen, I had a grandfather who was uber successful. He was just like this incredible person. And as a young boy, I looked at him and I decided that if I don't reach what he reached, then I'm a complete failure and unlovable. I'm worthless. Literally, that's how I felt my entire life. And so I chased this guy. I chased my grandfather, and which was awesome. I mean, what a gift to have someone like that you can go after. But in my young mind, I equated success to love, and really that's self-love. And I just didn't love myself most of my life. And I saw that in school. I was like a tough kid in school. The teachers hated me. I just got reinforced this feeling like you're broken, you're defected. And I felt that my whole life. And so part of that was the drive, which is good. I was like trying to prove to the world that I am not a shitbag. Ultimately, I was trying to prove to myself that I wasn't a shitbag. I just wasn't aware of that at the time.
And I think a lot of people can really relate to that feeling that I am broken. I mean, even one of my companies was called Broken.
It was. What'd it do?
It was about promoting music and art. The tagline was creative genius comes from broken places. And
always.
So it was definitely about, but that feeling, because I know I always felt it. And I know a lot of people out there felt it, like there's something wrong with me that I need to somehow fix. And once I get this thing, do this thing, create this thing, whatever it is, build it, they will come, whatever, that once we get there, then we will somehow be unbroken. But you chased your grandfather instead of chasing yourself. I know we all have this thing that we're chasing that's that's that idealized version. And you talk about how people loved him and he was super successful. Do you think that he had that empty success, or did he have that rich, full success that comes from that deep place of worthiness?
I think that he had listen, family was everything for him. And he lived by these like standards and rules in his life that were just amazing. Like when he was doing business back then, people would do bribes and you'd have to bribe politicians or you'd have to bribe all
Right.
these different people. His belief was like, it's not what you build, it's how you build it.
Mm.
I mean, everything he did was just so aligned with his core values and who he was, and family was absolutely everything to him. And he treated his customers like family. So he really lived and breathed who he was. I'm like this little like dopamine craving shitbag little kid who was just like looking for like the fast success. And his whole thing was like hard work is how you succeed. There's no shortcut in life at all. And so no, he lived in. Listen, I don't know what was in his mind. You
Right.
just don't. I don't know what's in your mind. It's like no one is a mind reader. And so I can only imagine, and I'm sure that he had his struggles. Everyone does. But from the outside, it looked pretty. And I've also done like a lot of like meditation. I don't do a lot of transformative events. I've done plant medicine journeys, just like really crazy stuff that for me, like my first plant medicine ceremony I ever did was in the middle of my Tiger years. And my wife is like, we're going. And I'm like, I don't want to go. She's like, we're going. And we were doing like the Mount Everest. It's called Iboga. It's 24 hours. It's like bonkers. And it's called the Stern Father, where it just shows you where you're messing up in life. And, I did that experience and I just saw how my entire life was driven by fear. And it was like this punch in the face, this beautiful punch in the face. And I'm so grateful for that experience. But I feel like everyone is like living their life and they're so comfortable in that and they don't really know where they are. And that experience really, really set me and made me realize where I was in life. And that was kind of the start for me.
I mean, I think you're right in the sense that most people have no idea where they are. There is a lack of, I don't want to say awareness, I would say a consciousness. And one of the things I've seen, there are so many people that tell me, oh, I'm very self-aware. And when we dig in a little deeper, I'm like, oh, you are so out of touch with what's actually driving you. Because of course I'm trained to like look for the deeper
Yeah, I
things
mean, you
that
see
are
it.
driving you.
Yeah.
But what would you say before that experience cracked you open and showed you that you were moving from fear and you were making your decisions and living your life from fear? What would you say your level of consciousness was before then versus after then?
Listen, I thought I was very aware. Like, I did. I mean, everyone does, which is I always say you're perfectly exactly where you should be.
Yeah.
Like you just are, because, in this lifetime, if you get somewhere, great. If you don't, you're just going to do it again. Like, I just believe that you just have to go back through till your soul figures this out, and then there's no good or bad, right or wrong. It's just where you are. I thought I was very aware and I thought I had it all figured out. And I thought, most importantly, I was the master of the universe. Like, if I want something done, I was going to make it happen. If I was going to be successful, it was all because of me. And my wife we're totally opposite. She's like, dude, just trust. I'm like, do you know my life? Trust what? Like, what is going to do this? And really what I was saying was, if this fails, I don't know what I would do with my life, and she knew, well, if it fails, it was perfectly designed for you. You needed that to fail. But when you're in this realm of control, which I was deep in control, failure was not an option. And so I grinded. I was flying every week. I mean, I was just like all the time. I was gone for years, just working. So, yeah.
So when everything starts to crumble, you're at that place, you sold the company, you already realized you've been running on fear. As you moved into this more aligned way of being, where you are moving from now, and you talk about this whole journey in your book, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the big identity that you had to let go of in order to get to the place where you're more aligned with who you truly are, which is essentially the whole be the wolf thing, is being who you truly are
Mhm.
meant to be.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? I mean, it's all about identities. We create these identities and they're helpful for us. Like they help us survive. Like some people have to create identities because they're in really tough situations, and so it just is a survival technique. But for the most part, we're all creating these identities to survive in some way.
Yeah.
And we create multiple different identities. I'm a dad. I'm a CEO. I'm a business person. I'm a seeker. I'm a religious, whatever that is. All those things, all they do is just create barriers around you. Okay. A seeker has to be constantly looking for something and constantly growing. Well, what if there's nothing to grow?
Right.
What if there's nowhere to go? A CEO, a business has to be successful. Well, what if you're not successful? Well, then you failed at your identity, right? And so we think that we become a CEO and then that's our identity and we stay there. But that's the paradox of identity. It's not a fixed destination. Identity is you're supposed to move beyond. It's not supposed to ignore your identities or get rid of them. It's supposed to, live an identity and then move beyond that identity to the next thing and the next thing. Because, I've had a lot of amazing transformative experiences and the same message kind of came through every single time. It showed me my identities. Like, okay, you're a dad or you're these things. And then I saw my limitations, which means that, well, maybe I can't do some of these amazing things for other people, other transformative things, because society says, well, that'd be weird if you did that. Well, that would be, well, yeah, then I'm stuck in that identity. I can't find my true purpose. So, identity just sticks you in that. So, what I did after I sold the company is I did this 5-week course that was just bonkers. And it's called Living from Vision. And what you do is you wake up every morning and you're just like texting, emailing, jumping in the shower, take the kids to school. It's just like crazy. By the time end of the day, you're just like dead, right? There's no time to even breathe. And so I woke up every morning, I meditated, and then I journaled. What do I want my day to look like? How do I want to feel? What do I want my external world to be? And then at night, I would do a postmortem. What were 5 things that didn't work today? What were 5 things that did work today? What am I grateful for? And in the morning, what I'm doing is I'm setting my attention, how I want to feel, how I want to see, how I want to be. And after the first week, my day started to represent what I was actually journaling about. And all that means is like what you focus on grows. If you focus on how horrible your life is and how crazy, you'll find more of it. Like your mind will start scanning for evidence that is true. But it's the same if you focus on like happiness and joy and love. Eventually your mind starts focusing and finding those things. And then at night when you do the postmortem, it's like, what are the things that didn't work? Not to beat yourself up. It's just to say, I don't want to repeat those same things tomorrow. So create awareness. It's all about awareness, right? And so, and what that does is it brings you back to your true self. Like just identity here, get rid of it, identity here, and just find who you truly are.
So I have this theory that our true self is in there. It's this unique perspective. And it can really only be brought forth when we're living in peace, love, joy, empowerment. And that when we're living in the lower level vibration of emotions, that we are being something other than what we truly are, because it is those lower level vibrations or emotions that have us trying to be something, trying to have that identity, right? Put on this mask, like, this is who I am. I'm a dad. And yes, of course, that is something that you're doing in this life, but it's not the whole of who you are. So, what do you think about that idea of we can only tap into who we really are when we're operating in that place of peace, love, joy, those higher level emotions?
Yeah. So your highest self is peace, love, and joy. Like that's what it really is, right? And we become so patterned into the chemical reaction that's happening in our body. Okay. So when I have a thought, right? Like I'm so angry right now. Well, that creates a feeling, an emotion that releases a chemical, stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, that activates genes that then creates inflammation, does things. It sounds horrible, but your body loves it because it's been doing it for so long. Like every time you watch a YouTube video and you're like, oh man, like some political thing or whatever, your body gets addicted to it. It just does. And so what happens in our society is that we're like, okay, well, I'm just going to stop doing that. I'm going to start thinking happy thoughts. Well, that doesn't work because 2 days later, your body's like, dude, where are those stress hormones that I'm so used to? And your mind's like, yeah, this kind of sucks. And so the mind and body are just like, and you're just like this third party, just totally like separate from this whole craziness that's happening. So you have to train yourself. It takes time. It takes practice. You have to look for things that you're grateful for. You have to think about love. You have to, dude, that's what I do in my meditations. I just like cultivate these feelings. I'm just training my body and my mind. That's all I'm doing. Think about love, think about gratitude all the time, so that eventually what happens is love and gratitude that are releasing, oxytocin and serotonin, all these amazing chemicals. What happens is your body starts getting used to that and it wants more of that. And that becomes the norm, not these stress hormones. Once in a while, I'll let myself go there. Like I'll let myself like get angry and stuff like that, because the goal is not to never feel that. I'm a human. I want to feel that. But at some point that doesn't feel very good. And I know what's happening in my body, and I'm not going to let my mind and body to do that, because it's easy to do that. So, so it's a mental practice. But listen, there are times where I'm in a funk. I'm just like, shit's not going well, and I don't want to feel this way. And there's this seeking that I want to be in a different state. The more I want something, the more I seek something, the further that thing is going to drift away every single time. And so when you finally, I had this amazing friend who's like so intuitive, and she saw me one time. I didn't even tell her how I was feeling. She looked at me and she goes, dude, it's okay to feel that way. And I'm like, oh my God. I had tears in my eyes. I'm like, that's it. And then I just said, it's okay to feel this way. Yeah. And then guess what happened? It went away. Yeah. I just stopped trying to be something else. And so there's that whole paradox of seeking, which is just so funny. Our mind is conditioned to chase, which, creates.
Well, and that's, we talk about those of us that do a lot of personal development and inner work and healing. It's this constant seeking, like that identity of being the seeker. I have to grow. I have to get better. I have to get better. But there's this place where I think so many people never get to is I'm okay right where I'm at.
Yes.
And that, I think, is the hard thing, because we're so running away from where we are instead of surrendering into where we are. And when we can surrender into where we are, we can actually see so many more opportunities and possibilities, because we're not living from that place of running, prevent, and protect mode, is what I call it.
100%. And listen, life is breath. The earth is breath. Everything in the universe is a breath. Goes in, it out, contracts, expands constantly. You can never be constantly expanding. You can never be constantly contracting. It's just not how it works, right? You can't hold your breath forever. And so what I find in my life is, when I'm expanding, dude, I'm charging. It's so fun. And then when I'm contracting, when I'm going internal and it's just not really working, it's going to happen. And so I just let myself go there, and I don't try to expand. I just let the flow happen as it naturally does, because the more you try to stay in a state or get out of a state, dude, good luck. You're just going to create so much suffering in your life.
Yeah, you can change your state, but it's always a temporary thing. Like there's a lot of NLP tricks to change your state and get out of that thing, and you can get there. But like that other state is just kind of sitting right there underneath the surface. So you really haven't changed the state. You've almost masked it in a way.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I do think, though, that like what I learned in that 5-week program that I did daily practice religiously. There's no question. And there are days where I don't want to do it. I have to do it. I do breath work for an hour every day. And in that, I do meditation as well, but I need that. And yes, even with that, my state will go down a little bit, totally fine, because I know I'm just showing up every single day. Yeah. And if I don't have that, if people don't do that, it's very difficult. You're going to be at the whim of the external world. Like someone pisses you off, well, boom, my internal state's gone. Dude, try to get to a place where like anything can happen out there and it can't affect you that much. Yes, you can get pissed off for a second, but it's not going to completely derail your entire life. And
that's
my
what
goal.
that's what a big part of the breathwork practice, the meditation practices, the other practices that we do is about being able to have a larger capacity to handle whatever craziness is out there, where well we can maintain that peace, love, and joy.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think about like, there's all this manifestation stuff out there. What's your view on that? Like, how do people
I have
manifest?
okay. So I've been working on a new thing with some of my clients. Like you've seen, like Joe Dispenza does like mind movies and there's all that. But what really, and people always talk about who you have to be to get that thing. So I'm going to manifest $140 million acquisition. So who do you have to be to do that? And so we think about, I have to be consistent. I have to be strong. I have to be like all of these things. But what I like to look at is who do you have to be consistent? And it's can be a little bit different for everybody. I mean, under the source of it, it's like you have to be peace, love, and joy for sure. But I just always, I'll ask my clients, who do you have to be consistent? Then they'll like, I have to be clear or I have to feel aligned. And I, who do you have to be to feel aligned? So like getting deeper to the core. And so I think most people, when they're focusing on who they have to be to manifest anything, they need to go so many layers deep to get to the actual core of who they are. And then you let go. And if you can just focus on being that thing. So if it's, I am source, I am love, if you can focus on being those things, then I think what manifests is probably way better than what's in your mind movie.
Dude, that's so smart. I love that. Because so many times in my life, people are like, oh, you need this, you need to do that, you need to do that. Right. Well, those things are very difficult for me to do. Like they're like, just surrender. I'm like, oh, dude, so you might as well ask me to like run a mile in a minute, like that was so hard for me. But if you break it down and it's like, well, what truly do you need at the core to surrender? What is that one thing that you can identify and focus on? And then once you're that, then you're surrender. I love that's so brilliant. I never heard that yet.
Yeah, because we've got to get deeper into like how do you do it? How you're going to do it is different than how I'm going to do it. For me to surrender, I mean, we're going to talk about all the different stories and bullshit things in my life that made me not want to surrender and have to control, because I definitely had that. And you also had that. But we have it in a little different angle, a little different perspective. So who I need to be to surrender and let go is going to be a little bit different. I mean, of course, at the core of it's always peace, love, and joy, but there are some nuances. And when we break it down and get to those deeper levels, then we can focus on something that's tangible for us. When we try to power through to surrender, when you're trying to power through to surrender, you're doing the opposite. Or when you're trying to power through to be consistent, you'll never be consistent. But when you can get to the like nuance of who you need to be consistent, that can be something that's much more tangible to work on.
Yeah, I love that. And also like defining what surrender is. A couple of my friends read the book and they're like, because I talk about surrender. That was like a huge life lesson for me. And they're like, I've always had a problem with surrender. Like, I'm like, so did I. Like, what does that mean to you? And it's like, just giving up. I'm like, okay, like that's one way to look at it, But the other part is like trusting that there is something pulling and guiding you, and just trust. And I think that that's where most people have the biggest problem. And I had that problem.
Yeah.
Believing that there is something greater than me who wants me to succeed and wants me to, and I think that's the challenge most people have is just that the trust.
Yeah. Know? I think with surrender, you're absolutely right. So it would be the I am trust that you would have to dive into if you're trying to manifest. We're so used to swimming upriver.
Mhm.
We're trying to control it. We're trying to get there. So what is it like to just let go and let the river take you and trust that you're going to be okay? And you said that thing about thinking about something bigger than you. And for the people who don't believe necessarily in a higher power or God, that
Yeah,
can just be your higher self.
that's it.
And so that trust becomes trusting your inner voice, your inner guidance. And so maybe that question is, how do you determine the difference between the inner guidance voice versus the inner fear voice?
It's really just a practice of like asking yourself, like, am I doing this out of fear or love? So I could take my daughters to the mall and I could go buy them something nice. Well, that could be an act of fear because I'm trying to show them that I love them and I want to make sure. So you just have to get really quiet and be honest with yourself and be like, am I doing this just out of abundant love for them and for me? Or am I doing it because I'm scared that they're going to think this way? Now, there are certain things that you should be scared of, that you should be doing out of fear. Like, don't go swimming in shark infested waters. Like, if it's going to harm your body, probably not a good call. But when it comes to emotional or anything outside of your physical body that can damage you, then yes, it's like ask that question. And it's hard. To me, my journey was a journey of trusting my intuition and trusting my gut. Because if my gut said go this way, I would go the other way because I didn't trust myself. I was like,
Right.
oh, I'm probably trying to fool myself. I'll go this way instead. And I've really just, yeah, have started to like trust that and know that there's no wrong decision. You open up this door, go out it. Eventually, you're going to realize that that's the door to go through, and you're going to get slammed in the face until you finally make the right choice. It's just,
What made you write the book?
so I never wanted to write a book. I was like, that's the worst thing I could possibly do. I would hate doing that. And so our house was caught in the Palisades fire. So our house burned down in the fire. And listen, my coping mechanism is like go. Within 4 hours of our house burning down, I had an architect, a builder. We had a 2-year rental. Like, I know people who are still like a month later, just in a hotel room. What's going on?
Right.
Again, coping mechanisms. Mine's helpful for me, which is kind of nice. But people would say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry about your house," and I would feel nothing. I'm like, "What house?" And I give two shits. Didn't care at all. And my business partner had just done ketamine, and in LA you can do it. You do 6 sessions in a doctor's office, and I had done other medicines before, and I finally was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And holy cow, those 6 sessions just like blew me away. And I saw my entire life, and I saw the book. I saw it all. And a big piece of that was my identity. It's like how vulnerable to put out a book. Like, I mean, I lay it out. Like, my family doesn't even know anything about me. Like, my parents and my, siblings. And I wrote a book, and I'm like, by the way, I wrote a book. Take a look at it. And it was received so beautifully. But if I was stuck in those identities, I couldn't have done that. So the medicine helped me do that. And I left the 6th session, and I sat down in my office, and I wrote for 15 hours a day for 2 months. I couldn't stop. And I wasn't even trying to write a book. I was just writing. And then at the end, it came out. So, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it again. Like, I don't know how I did it.
You say that now, who knows what will magically come out of you again. I think as entrepreneurs, we are creatives, and there is something inside of us that is trying to be told in one way or another. And some people do it through art, some people do it through writing, some people do it through the businesses they create. And you had something to say. And I think when something comes from that place that is just true creation, there is a different kind of energy to it. There's a different kind of feel. And it has the power to open people up in a more profound way than people doing. We have a lot of entrepreneurs who write books because that's what you need to do for your business to give you authority, give you credibility, blah, blah, blah. And that's that like giving to get something. But it sounds like this just came out of pure giving. Like, you're the apple tree. If people want to take it, they can take an apple, but it's just your gift to the world. And that creates what we talked about in the very beginning was that the giving and the receiving becomes the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I was super vulnerable in the book. I mean, I just lay it out. I'm already an open book usually, but I talk about my experience doing internal family systems. And it's a really cool coaching and therapy modality where they identify these parts of you or you identify parts of you. And, I had the man, right? The man was like this controlling part of me who was just like always driving me, always telling me I was a failure, like pushing me. And with internal family systems, you have the protector, and then you have the exile. Well, the exile was this little boy who was just like this vulnerable, sad little boy. And, I talk about that. And after I read the book, I was like, dude, are people going to think I'm crazy? Like, do people have the man? Do people have the boy? And it
Oh
has
yeah,
been so fun. I know it's been so fun to like people be like, dude, I got the man, or like my friends who are girls are like, oh yeah, I don't have the man, I have this woman, and it's really cool to see. And they're able to now verbalize that a little bit more. And it's been a really beautiful experience.
I mean, one of the things that I think is so important about books like yours and people sharing their journey is for generations, we have been locked up with this internal world that we haven't felt safe to talk about. And we've thought that it separated us and it made us an outcast,
Mhm.
that we were different from everybody else. But it turns out we all essentially want the same things and we struggle with the same things. Like I said, we have our own perspectives and nuances in it. But ultimately, we have the same fears, we have the same desires. It boils down to meaning, love, joy, fear of disconnection. And we disconnect so much from ourselves. And what we don't realize is that is what creates the biggest disconnection from other people. So we're seeking that connection from somebody else. But the more we can connect to ourselves, the more that we can connect to others. I think
Yeah.
in your book, you share about all of the different modalities, all of the different things that you've done on your seeking journey. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, no, I mean, no, I did not. I mean, I talked about really important ones, but I mean, I've done so many. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
I've just done a lot of like, if someone said only 5 people in the world have done this, I'm like, I'm going. Like, I just had to do it. Like I wanted those transformative experiences, and they're not like all medicine. I mean, they're just
Yeah.
things that push you beyond your comfort zone. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I talked about kind of the most important ones, I think, but there were there were a lot out there.
Well, and I think it's good because a lot of people have only really known of therapy as far as how to transform their inner world. And so I think the more people that talk about the other things that are out there, it gives people this indication to listen to that intuitive hit. Oh, that thing
Mhm.
really spoke to me. And so, again, I think it's just important to share our stories and share our experiences with these different modalities that aren't quite as, it took how many decades for therapy to become an acceptable thing to do. And it's still not even acceptable to a lot of people.
And I also listen, there's so many different types of therapy, so many different types of
Yeah.
coaching. I think people say, oh, I've done therapy before, and maybe they've done talk therapy, and that's it, which is fantastic. Like there's no good or bad. It's all amazing. But there are some you can't imagine what some of these modalities are. They are just like somatic therapy. I didn't realize that I am in my body. That's just where I take to really heal myself. I have to get into my body, out
Yep.
of my mind. And when I realized that or found that, it was amazing. There's 50 different ones, hundreds of different ones that you can do. It's all about finding what works for you,
Yeah.
and finding those ninjas who are just like, these people are so gifted. It's amazing. So I talk
Exactly.
about 2 of them in my book, but yeah, they're awesome.
Awesome. So tell us, how can we get your book?
Yeah, so you can go on Amazon or Apple or any of the platforms. You can buy it. But you can also go to my website, which is evolveweird.com.
Evolve
And
Weird. I want to make this really clear because I think I was watching something and I'm like, what did he say? So evolveweird.com. WEIRD.
Yes,
Right?
.com. Yeah. Well, so the reason, so my other company is called Evolve Well. Okay.
Yeah.
But we have this joke at our company whenever someone does something, like we as a company share our biggest triumphs, our lowest lows, like where we just talk about everything. And whenever they talk about this amazing revelation they had, we're always like, how'd you get there? Right. And so they tell, and that's so weird. Like we evolve weird. It never unfolds the way you think it is. Life goes on these wild tangents. And if you follow the path to how you got there, you look back and you're like, what the fuck? And so we call it evolve weird. We're like, oh, it's so evolve weird. And so that's the website. I have the book on there. We also do a practice every day as a company, and I do it every day. Breathwork meditation led by my co-founder, Alex, who is a professionally trained musician. God, he is a gangster, and so we have free videos up there, so you can just try them out. It's not like a challenge, like go do it. It's like, listen, find something that works for you, and if this works for you, fantastic. We'll put up more, but we just want to share the love, and then twice a week you can come and join us with our breathwork practice. It's totally free, and you can go to evolvewell.com/jams, and then you can go sign up for times, and yeah, just join a cool community of people wanting to expand the consciousness.
Love
So,
it. Love it. Okay, so one last question.
Mhm.
What do you think you needed to know before the acquisition to be able to not slip into that depressive state?
Yes. Okay. So the acquisition stage is the hardest thing in the world. Like we were sold to a publicly traded company. It was months and months of 15-hour days. It was crazy. And everyone is going after everyone. Like it was just so interesting to watch human behavior. And I was working with this coach at the time, Greg Lawrence, who without him, I don't know if I could get through that period. And what he taught me was everyone is just doing their problems. They are in real time, their childhood conditioning, how they think about themselves, everything is playing out in real time. So when someone's doing something, they're not doing it to you. They're not doing you. They're doing their problem. And so I started watching this with the investors and the lawyers and the acquirer, everyone. And I'm watching these people in the room. I'm like, oh my God, that's your problem. That's it. And not like, oh, that's your problem. But it no longer made it about me. It wasn't a personal attack. And so I was able to go through that process with grace and humility and knowing that they weren't attacking me. They were just living out their own trauma, in real time. And that became like a psychology lab, which is funny. But yeah, I say it every day. People are just doing their problem, and I'm doing my problem. What is my problem? Like, that's the next level of awareness, is realizing so are you. And if you don't understand what your problems are and how your views of the world are affecting, how you manage situations, but more importantly, how you interact with people, then you just need to grow that awareness, so. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Peter, for sharing
you.
your journey, sharing your story, for putting out your book. I'm very grateful to know you.
Awesome. Same here. Thanks for having me on.
All right. And remember, everybody, when you unleash the power of you, humanity evolves. We'll see you next time on Be the Wolf. Bye, everyone.